Ladies and gentlemen, the circus is in town.
The circus? Suffering circuses. I love circuses.
Featuring the Houston Texans, the Tennessee Titans, my brother's favorite team, the well-run Jacksonville Jaguars, and the team with the greatest quarterback of all time, Anthony Richardson, and the Indianapolis Colts, all playing for the coveted prize of the champion of the worst division in football. Like every other division prediction, and I'll have the link to the playlist above, I'll go over their ceiling and floor, strengths and weaknesses, but without further ado, the AFC South.
Pilot to co-pilot, we're going down in flames.
The Tennessee Titans had the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft, and that's because their team was just awful.
Oh no! We suck again!
Whether you want to blame the quarterback situation, Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, or if you want to blame the offensive line, they had more holes in their team than Swiss cheese. But let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Will Levis was bad, one of the worst grades amongst quarterbacks. 13 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. But their offensive line wasn't any better. 68 sacks, one of the worst PFF grades. They were bad, but my brother and I have been going back and forth on whose fault is it. But the fault of dropping the most balls on the team was Calvin Ridley, and he couldn't get separation, which is a surprise that he got 1,000 yards. But this wouldn't be a HillTimeSports episode without at least viewing the positives, few as they may be. The run defense, 72.2 overall grade, 8th in run defense success rate, and in the beginning of the season, I'm going to say they were top 10 in run defense and number 1 in pass defense until the train completely derailed and the season was lost. Jeffrey Simmons is a stud. 3rd Pro Bowl, 45 pressures, 5 sacks, and 80 overall grade. But that didn't help things because they went 3-14. And now in the offseason, the Titans made some moves to hopefully right the ship. Now the question is whether or not the captain is blind or if he can see and he knows what he's doing. They got Dan Moore Jr., who is a mixed bag, 12 sacks allowed in 1,100 snaps. Gavin Zeitler got signed from Detroit, who is a serviceable run blocker and has made his fair share of Pro Bowls. But the number 1 pickup of the offseason is Cam Ward. Will he be the franchise quarterback like a Steve McNair or a Warren Moon, or will he be more like a Vince Young or a Marcus Mariota? The Titans do play 6 playoff teams, including Kansas City, Denver, and Los Angeles, but this division is winnable, especially with the questions, red flags, and concerns of the other teams. 6 or 7 wins can win the division. I'm picking the Titans to win that many as their ceiling, but their floor is more along the lines of 4 or 5 games and a top 10 pick. The Anthony Richardson experiment is possibly done after this season. He's had the worst completion percentage by a quarterback in the college, in pros, in high school, you name it, it's been bad. It's especially concerning because the offensive line gave him 2.95 seconds, and Will Fries had only 2 sacks against him and 6 pressures. The overall offensive line was 6th in the league, and he still hasn't shown that he can be a good quarterback. I mean, he's better than me, but I'm also not trying to make millions of dollars throwing a football. The run defense missed 157 tackles, led the league, and although they got a lot of interceptions, they allowed a lot of yards. They were bottom tier. I will give credit to Pittman Jr., Downs, and Pearson for posting 800 plus yards, and Jonathan Taylor for 1,431 yards in a comeback season with 31 explosive runs. The Colts finished 7-10 in 2024 and lost a lot of their offensive line in the offseason. Will Fries and Ryan Kelly said, screw this, took their ball and went to Minnesota where they could hopefully win a Super Bowl. They did draft Tyler Warren to give Anthony Richardson another weapon, and if that doesn't work out, they signed the savior of Indianapolis, Daniel Jones. But hey, maybe there will be 4 players on the team to go for 800 plus yards this year. Lou Anarumo is now their defensive coordinator, and they signed Charvarius Ward to hopefully fill out that defensive backfield. The Colts drew a tough schedule, especially when you factor in they played Los Angeles Rams, Chargers, Denver, Steelers, Chiefs, and Texans. I think their ceiling's pretty low, especially with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. 5-12 is their ceiling. Their floor is much lower with a 2-15 record. Jaguars fans will recall just how well run their team was when they didn't have a cart in the stadium and Trevor Lawrence had to walk himself out under his own power.
I don't believe you.
The Jaguars finished with a 4-13 record, but where do we begin to list off their problems? Was it Travis Etienne's 558 yards and 2 touchdowns, Trevor Lawrence being pummeled to a pulp because he only had 2.5 seconds to throw the ball, the offensive line being so bad, and the defense only getting 8 turnovers? I mean, the list can go on, but I think we should go the more positive route with this team.
So you think I'm a loser?
Brian Thomas Jr. is great, especially as a rookie. 1,200 plus yards, 10 touchdowns, and an 83.4 receiving grade. Trayvon Walker has shown improvement every year with 10 sacks, 56 pressures, and Devin Lloyd had a pass rush and run defensive grade over the 80s. Josh Allen, not the one from the Bills, had 9 sacks, 63 pressures. The linebacking core accumulated 110 tackles between 2 players. Lloyd's 81 and a forced fumble stands out, but they did allow a high completion percentage, which is concerning. The team ousted Bulky and Peterson after a 4-13 record last season. Liam Cohen is their coach. James Gladstone is now their GM. They signed Jordan Lewis to be a veteran presence in the secondary, and they traded with the Browns to grab Travis Hunter, who will be playing cornerback and receiver. The former Heisman winner should only play one position, but the Jags are going to let him do whatever he wants because, they're the Jags. The Jaguars play 6 playoff teams, 5 of which are in the beginning of the season. If they can do well and escape with 2 or 3 wins, they can win the division at 9-8, but they can also fall very far and shoot for that number 1 pick this season. And who can forget the Houston Texans because they're still favored to win the division. CJ Stroud performed admirably behind a terrible offensive line. 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 23 big-time throws. Nico Collins had over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a receiving grade of 91, which is really good. The defense provided much improvement, going from 14th in 2023 to 6th in the NFL in 2024. A lot of that has to do with Coach DeMeco Ryans, who played linebacker for the Texans for a while.
And I knew it complete when I wore a younger man's clothes.
Derek Stingley Jr. has superstar written all over him, 5 interceptions, and a passer rating against of just 47. The defense is looking to improve next season, and they're going to have to because the offensive line was not very good. Stroud was sacked 51 times. They struggle with penalties, inconsistencies. The run game, although Mixon had over 1,000 yards, just wasn't there against great football teams. They were a terrible team in the second half, a 25th in EPA in the second half, and overall third down percentage was 20th, and in the red zone, they were 28th in the league. They'd win their division, but would be ousted very quick. Larry Tunsil, who struggled with penalties last season, would move on to the Commanders. They added CJ Gardner-Johnson to help out in the secondary and grabbed Jaden Higgins to give CJ Stroud more weapons when he needs more time to throw in the pocket. They have a lot of red flags for a division winner. They play the Ravens, Rams, Bills, and Chiefs. This team could be headed for a downturn if they're not careful. They could still win 10 games, but I could also see them winning 7 games and losing out on the division. But who is your division winner? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm full of crap? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell to see more from HillTimeSports. I want to thank you all for 50 plus subscribers and 1,000 views on my NFC South video. I appreciate you all. I'm very thankful. But I'll see you in the next video. Adios.